Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another live stream / recording of Hearthstone. So we've spent the last two recordings just trying to do Paladin class cards and get Paladin victories. I want to take a little bit of a break from that and do Battlecry minions, and then we'll get back to it. So Battlecry minions, as far as I know, are only in this mage deck. That's the only deck I have specifically built around that. I suppose since the end of the month is about to happen, I'll get back to playing ranked. I guess maybe that's why they were giving a free card today in specific, and so maybe it won't be every weekend that they give you free cards, which would be really nice of Hearthstone if they did just give you free cards, particularly of the decks that you can't purchase, so you'd have to make cards from dust. But maybe they're just giving cards because we're at the end of the month. I have actually still half of the things I've written down, but I was writing very big on for news. Like, the FCC has voted to eliminate net neutrality rules. People complained about it. People should have complained about it. People should complain to their congressmen and find out what their congressmen and other local representatives, state representatives and such, what their stance on all of that is. If they're against it and you are passionately for net neutrality, then you should consider if that is the one reason or one of the reasons why you should vote out or vote for somebody. Because clearly that's the only way you can have any chance to even slightly affect change in the United States political system, is to use your vote to put the people who will do the things that you want to happen. Net neutrality actually going away, like, I don't think net neutrality, in all honesty, was ever here. There were rules in place that were never implemented, as best as I can tell, and because they were in place, places like AT&T and Verizon decided to not go forward with certain plans, and now that those places, those rules and places, well, instead of going forward with certain plans, they instead spent the same amount of money lobbying and trying to misinform the people that net neutrality is not a necessary thing, and that having fast lanes on certain networks is really good. And I guess on cell phone networks, they were always exempt from net neutrality rules anyways. So what this is inherently going to do to video game people is, if there is a new multiplayer video game, it's probably going to be put in the slow lane unless it pays some kind of bribe to your internet service provider, which very well your internet service provider could say, you have to pay us to even access this service. There's really very little, if any, rules that have to be followed, since they've all been eliminated. So it's almost certainly going to allow internet service providers to raise the price and give less quality. Is all it really boils down to. You're going to have less speed. They're going to try to take on things like Netflix. They're going to say Netflix needs to pay us more because we have a competing service that we want people to use. So they'll say, if you're on Comcast, they'll say, if you stream Comcast TV, which I assume is a thing, that won't count towards your bandwidth cap, but everything else will. And they'll use trickery and manipulation like that to try to force the free hand of the market away from being a free hand of the market, and supply and demand. So I mean, they claim they're all capitalists, but really they want government. They want the ability to force people to purchase their products, which is not the idea there, but behind a free and open market economy. They don't want that. They want monopolies, and that's exactly what they're trying to do. Is the internet service providers are trying to establish and favor already established monopolies. Speaking of Netflix, Netflix is developing and producing a new English language drama based on the Witcher books. There is a slight question, and I don't think there's an answer out there yet, whether it's going to be live action or animated. I could kind of see both. Like, I could see them having CD Projekt Red work with them, or some other animator to just do Witcher animated series. But then Witcher would be a very mature animated series. Or they could go the other way and they could just have actors that try to look like the characters from the Witcher universe. Or there may be no characters that we've seen before in the Witcher universe, and it turns out that it's just set in that world and doesn't actually involve anybody like Geralt of Rivia or any of the other characters. Like, any of those could be the case. There is some weirdness with the game too. If you were going to tell the story of Geralt of Rivia, you kind of know there's a time limit on that. Like, there's probably going to be a Witcher 4 game, even though there really probably shouldn't be. But his lifespan is limited, and his actions are somewhat tied to things that actually happen in the books. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't even see Geralt. If maybe we follow some other Witcher from a different school. So instead of School of the Wolf, that you follow somebody from the School of the Bear or something like that, or set it in the time frame way before The Witcher exists. Let's see.
I'm ready.
Job done.
Moving on to the next piece of news. Let's just get all of this done, I suppose. Wild West Online, which was a game that was somewhat mistaken for Red Dead Redemption, although honestly the site that's talking about this game was also the site that wrote the article saying it was mistaken for Red Dead Redemption. So honestly, I'm not sure I fully believe, it's PC Gamer, I'm not sure I fully believe that this isn't just some kind of advertising tie-in thing that they've done where they're pretending like a game was thought to be something else, and that there's a lot of buzz around it when there really isn't. But if I take it on face value, which I don't know why I should, but if I do, this game is mistaken for Red Dead Redemption. It's this online Western game by the name. It has gotten funding, so it's pulled itself off Kickstarter. And we've seen more and more of this tactic, and I really can just call it an advertising tactic now. It's like, let's put our game on Kickstarter, but we really already have private funding, but we want to get that push. And honestly, on Kickstarter, that may be the best use of Kickstarter these days anyways, is because so many of them either don't get to that front page and don't get enough traction in the first 48 hours or so, that they just disappear and die anyways, or they do get that traction and are available and able to succeed. So it wouldn't hurt to roll the dice from their perspective is what I think, how I think they're doing it is they're just saying, we'll just roll the dice and see if this game succeeds on Kickstarter and we get a bunch of money because of that. Or, well, 2 damage to all minions. This will be interesting. Let's see what happens. Can't attack that one. So I don't know if I don't think a Wild West online game's gonna succeed in general. If I'm just gonna pull back and look at it, it's like there's a niche of people that want to play Wild West games like Red Dead Redemption, but it's gonna come out right when Red Dead Redemption is supposed to come out anyway, so the competition's gonna be rather high.
You want to cast a spell? I want to cast a spell.
Deal 15 damage and 3 damage to adjacent ones. Sure. I think I've probably played enough Battlecry cards to win here, but we can just continue. Yeah, I just don't think there's enough people to play an online version of a Western. I feel like Westerns in particular, since they're only a niche nowadays, they were super popular back in the old days before video games, certainly. Way more popular than sci-fi or fantasy because there weren't any of that. But in modern days, it's just going to be the small niche, and you can do a single player for it. You kind of, you can even do a really long single player for it, although I think it might be better to not draw things out. There's this problem with Westerns in which you eventually get into something from a hard science Western into something closer to a magical Western where you have like ancient Indian totems and magical abilities or curses or ghosts or something like that. All of that works itself into the, I'm just going to take a victory here, works into it in such a way that a just standard Western can't go that long without telling this exact same story. There's going to be a good guy, a bad guy. I did need 9 more Battlecry cards to play. There's going to be good guys, bad guys. The good guys are in white hats, the bad guys are in the black hats usually. Maybe you try to do more of a modern take on it and everybody's in gray hats. You might rob a train, you might blow up a mine, you might steal some gold, you might do some cattle rustling, you might steal some horses, you might fight some snakes, you might do a little bit of hunting, you might visit a bar, have a shootout. Similar, a lot of things you can do, but they've all been done before, many times. And I don't think you can really do too much extra versus like a sci-fi story. You can, whatever you can imagine, you can add to a sci-fi story. Speaking of sci-fis and whatever you want to imagine, Sci-Fi, SYFY in the United States is doing this weird 3-day event in which it's airing all of the 3rd season, the brand new 3rd season of 12 Monkeys in a row. Now, arguably that series is so centered around time manipulation that it's a complicated enough series that it makes sense. But I think more to the fact, they are only airing 10 episodes for season 3, which I think really refreshes my faith in sci-fi to say that sci-fi will always ruin your dreams and cancel shows you like, because you don't make 10 episode seasons. You don't. You do 12 episodes, 13 episodes, 16 episodes, but you don't do 10. Even if it was a BBC series where they were going to do like 6 episodes, you still don't come into a 10 episode range. The only time anything has 10 episodes is when you wanted 2 more episodes to do a giant finale, and instead of getting the budget for that, you get canceled. And that's what I'm pretty sure is going to happen here. So I have to, every few years, I had sworn off watching Sci-Fi Channel because exactly of this reason. But every few years, I guess I have to refresh myself and realize that they are the worst, and we'll never have good sci-fi on TV until the Sci-Fi Channel is dead and buried, or people are willing to keep and maintain good sci-fi on the primetime, the primary cable, not cable channels, but regular channels. Even like FX and their American Horror Stories is a pretty huge mess of a series these days. I don't think people know how to tell sci-fi stories. It requires a lot of writing, and the last thing any video game, I mean any TV channels wants is more writing. The Walking Dead, after the first season, they fired all the writers. It's the same for everything. Heroes, the original run of Heroes was ruined because of the writers, and Heroes Reborn didn't save it. So yeah, thank you, Sci-Fi, for reminding me why I hate you. Sometimes you just need somebody in your life, I guess. Maybe you need this person in your life that just is very consistently wrong. Somebody that reminds you that people don't change. The people in charge of Sci-Fi certainly change over and over again, but it's I think just shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic. I imagine it's the same people on the committee, and they just vote a different person in charge. So this year you get to be in charge, next year you get to be in charge, next year you get to be in charge. And they always swear that they're going to do right by their fans, and it's never true. It's never true. They just want to launch a new few shows, which is exactly what they've got. Get people interested in it enough so it gets them the views, and as soon as it starts to lose a little bit of views because a few people fall off, they instantly cancel it. And none of the Sci-Fi series for none of their shows have, in my opinion, satisfactorily ended in well over a decade. Like, I don't think any of them, maybe ever, have satisfactorily ended. Ended in a satisfactory way, to say that better. Moving on, I suppose I could rant about Sci-Fi Channel. Let me know in the comments down below if you hate the Sci-Fi Channel. Oh man, one more battle cry? That probably means I'm fine to just play this now. And get some more Paladin victories and play more Paladin cards. The South Park, The Fractured Butthole, 4 words there, The Fractured Butthole, gets a new release date. Honestly, I wouldn't trust the release date that much because this is like the second or third time that it's gotten a release date. It's not uncommon. The previous game also had many release dates because the South Park creators were actively involved and were rewriting things. Is the rumor, at least. But the game turned out good, so if they want to push it back and they want to push it back, the only thing they're doing wrong here is announcing release dates at all, which I assume maybe they are required or getting pushed to do because of like shareholder meetings. Is my guess is that they want to say this game will come out in this quarter or this quarter, when really, if there was just more honesty and less people that just wanted greedy quarter earnings so they could sell and trade their stocks in a video game company. So if video games were just not publicly owned, it would be great. In fact, in my opinion, I just don't think anything should be publicly owned other than maybe government things, which technically are always publicly owned. But yeah, if there wasn't that manipulation, they could just be more honest and say, this game will be great, it'll be out when it's out. That's all you really should say and need to say. Final thing I have written on my news, and like I said, there wasn't really a lot, even though I managed to stretch it out by doing some rants. I have Minecraft for the Switch. They did some tests on it. It has a lower view distance in portable mode than in docked mode, which is slightly problematic. And I think if you were flying around on an Elytra, that you would have pop-in and it just wouldn't look as smooth as you would want for Minecraft. Minecraft in itself seems like something that should be easier to implement and have work, and just be smooth, and you generally want that view distance as far as you can go. Sometimes servers will limit you a little bit, but I prefer it to be 16 plus chunks if you can do it, since while it is animating a bunch of blocks, it's not really doing too much there. I don't think Minecraft is programmed as well as it should be, honestly, but whatever. The other limitations for the Switch version of Minecraft is there's no amplified mode at all, so you can't have amplified terrains, which that certainly seems seems like an extreme oversight in my opinion. Also, it would say it has a bigger but still limited map size. All the console versions have that, so you can't just constantly walk to the edge and generate new terrain. I would say though, of the console versions, it seems like the Switch version runs at a solid 60 frames per second, better than even some of the other console versions like the PS4. But again, it should run at 60 frames per second. You're talking Minecraft, you're not talking a Crisis. Need to kill this.
Reporting for duty. For justice.
I'm gonna lose here, but it doesn't really matter. So now we're at the beginning of the last call. I'm gonna call it the last call, but it's not really last call. Anybody that wants to friend me on Steam, well, you can friend me on Steam too, but anybody that wants to friend me on battle.net, the links are in the description. I could potentially play people after I'm done with this part of the game, which is going to be 14 more Paladin cards and 1 more victory. And I think I could probably get a rather quick Paladin victory with my Murloc deck if anything else, everything else fails. So I'm not extremely worried about that. There is also the Battlecry deck cards. They haven't done the patch yet that I can get all the daily quests through friend play, but when that happens, then it's going to become even more of a good thing to just play people as quickly as possible. I can't help but feel like I've done wrong and lost some audience, because there was a lot of people in the chat, like people I was learning people's names and stuff, like we were getting to know each other, and then all of a sudden, I've just had potentially two streams now where they haven't gotten on, and so maybe they got bored and moved on, and maybe it was something I did, maybe it was nothing I did. Maybe I'm just not that interesting. Frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if watching anybody playing Hearthstone is a little boring. I'm certainly often bored by Hearthstone. If it wasn't for these quests, it would allow me to make Hearthstone streams a lot more
Reporting for duty.
of a special thing if I didn't have to do it every 3 days. But because the daily quests work that way, it's it becomes less special if you do it all the time, frankly. To use what might be a cliche, it becomes Hearthstone becomes less special if you have to play it every 3 days. Like if I had to play it once a week, just cutting that time in half, I would certainly be a lot happier with it, and I'd be a lot cooler with dying a lot and losing a lot, since this is a game that strives for you to have 50% win ratios at the best of times. And there's me cleaning off my whiteboard while I have the free time. Let's see, after this game, I guess I may just stream in silence, since that's the question, what to do now.
Reporting for
I
duty.
suppose.
To battle. The battle.
Because
For justice.
I could do a couple things. I don't see a reason really to start another recording after this. But I could go long and just do that. Or I could just stream. It feels like streams more and more are gonna be this bonus content that's not talking about news, and then the recorded videos that get cut up in from the streams are just gonna be talking about news, which is certainly weird either way. I mean, why people would want to watch old news, I don't know. Why people would want to watch old streams where I'm talking to people who in chat, I don't know. Honestly, maybe neither of those are true.
Back to your homes.
It seems like the numbers would agree with that idea.
For justice.
Let's see. Attack here. I suppose I at some point might just stop putting up recordings of the streams and make people watch all the streams. That would save me a small amount of time that it takes me to clip up, break up the Hearthstone videos, but it would also effectively just get rid of my Hearthstone time slot on my channel, and it would then be sporadic releases of videos instead of every Monday through Friday of Hearthstone videos. Let's see. Am I ready to do that? Or would I prefer
Don't
this
worry, loves. The cavalry's here.
and this?
Reporting for duty. For justice. The
Attack,
battle.
attack,
The battle.
attack. In the turn. I need to kill this. I did not realize that. Why would you use that spell on this? Changes minions to be equal its health. It seems ridiculous. Why? This guy doesn't even know how to play this card. Wow.
Not quite what was planned.
No duh. Were you
I
perhaps
wonder.
planning on doing it on this card where you could give it a 5 attack?
To arms, men!
The light protects me.
Let's see.
To battle! To battle! To battle! For justice!
End the turn there.
How many fingers do you see?
You pay, I protect.
Let's see. Let's
The
do
battle!
this,
I fight.
this,
To battle!
this,
To battle!
and that,
Duty calls!
and then that. And end the turn. But he keeps on healing himself, and I need to succeed. See, and this is a great example of just what I'm planning on doing after this recording. Is I'm just gonna sit here and quiet. I was there for several minutes, and there's like nothing to say. Not very much happened in the news. We're all setting up for E3. Some games seem to be coming out specifically to get around E3 announcements, and I can kind of understand that
I
one.
fight.
Let's go ahead and play that.
To battle!
And we'll,
To battle!
how much damage can we do?
To battle! Duty calls!
I could have gotten 20 damage to the face in one turn, which would have gotten him up to 13 with this heal attack. That's not gonna help unless he has another card that turns this into an attack. Let's see. I can't kill anything here, so doing this actually doesn't do anything. But I'll play it just so it's a card displayed.
To battle! Duty calls! Charge!
And without this card, I still could have won. There we go. So I've gotten 2 of the quests done, and I just need to play 6 more Paladin class cards. So this is going to be the final call. If anybody wants to play after the stream, they need to send me a friend request and a challenge right now. I guess maybe I should just say hello in the chat when somebody says hello, because even though at the very beginning of every chat I specifically say I'm gonna respond in the chat to people's comments and questions, which I did. I said hello to Walter. It didn't really start any conversation or go anywhere. That's it for this recording. If you're watching it recorded, as always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.